Welcome to our weekly Healing with Creativity. And this week we are talking about the self-esteem versus self-value and some of the things you can do to help them grow. So check out the blog for more information on that. But one of the exercises that I suggested was this keeping a visual reminder of things that make you feel good. So I'm going to just show you a little collage that I'm going to do in my art journal. And also another way that I keep things, mementos, if you will, of things that make me feel good. So I will flip to the other camera and we will get started. So like I said, we're talking about keeping visual reminders of the things that make you feel good. So what I had mentioned was creating a collage, and you can do that with magazine pictures, with photos, with live items, like if you want to do a shadow box or a frame or even a shelf, like put everything on a shelf. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to work in my art journal again. So this is a mixed media art journal. This has already got a base of color on it because I have mentioned before, I do my journaling in the morning with my Tombow markers. So with the Tombow markers, and I put a base on. This one also has a few splotches of color. I'm not too worried about that because this is the bottom layer of my collage. So after I write with my Tombow markers, I add water to it, and that sort of makes the writing into a wash for the background. I've taken some pictures of things that I like, and some of these I had to rip off of other things because my magazines are put away, but some of them are newer ones. So I have some magazine pictures. I also am going to use some of the sprays that we made. I think this was in the first episode of Create With Me. We made our own spray inks. So I'm going to use some of those. And so they do have the sparkle in them, so I'm just going to shake them up. And I'm just going to add some color to the page to start, because one of the things I love is color. So I'm just going to spray some of that in different places. So that's our homemade sprays. So I'm going to just spray that on. Well, the purple's a little lighter. It'll have a hint of it. And I'm going to add, I think this was the pink. It might have been the red. We were surprised when we got a red. Oh, a little spray. Oh, there we go. Well, it's looking pink, but I think it might be the red. On the white paper, it might be red. I'm just going to add that. And I'm just going to dry that a little bit with my heat gun. Okay, so you may not be able to see it. I started to point this out and then realized the heat gun was on and you wouldn't be able to hear me. But there's sparkle that was in the sprays, and so it's got a little bit of a shimmer to it now. I don't know if you can see that. So I've added some color. Now you can do any kind of background you want. Maybe you want a white page. Maybe you like clean white. This is about what makes you feel good, right? So it's very similar to a vision board, except for we're not projecting into the future. What we're doing is finding things that make us happy right now, things that really remind us of ourselves and what we love. So, for instance, this is a woman swimming. I love swimming. No, she doesn't look like me, and that doesn't matter. It's a woman swimming. So I have that, and I'm not too worried about, there's a paintbrush. What else do I have? This one's just a swatch of colors. I love that. I love this garden. This just makes me so happy. I used to garden a lot, and I used to be quite good at it, but now I have a patio. So one day I might have a little cottage garden again, but it just makes me happy to look at it. This bottle of wine. I love red wine. It makes me happy. in moderation. Books. I love books. So there's that. This one I loved. Okay, this picture here is a fancy dessert. I'm gonna cut it out. Fancy dessert. This one is gemstones. A little more than I would like, a little more blingy than I would like, but I love gemstones. So I just thought this was a good representation of it. I'm gonna cut it down a little bit though. There we go. So there's that. These are grapes, but I love the color purple and I love this purple. So I was like, I think I want some of this just because of the color. That's my grapes. This one here is for my spirituality. So I consider myself a very spiritual person as opposed to a religious person. And so this reminds me of that. So I really like that. I liked this one. It reminds me of traveling. It looks like the glass vases that you could find in Italy and places like that. So I just love that. So it just reminds me of traveling. So those are some of the things that I found that I love and that make me feel happy. And how this relates to me and my self-value and self-worth is just a reminder of things that I've either had in my life or can have in my life, or just things that make me happy. I used to be a swimmer and did competition swimming when I was younger, much younger. I'm allergic to chlorine now, so I don't swim a lot, but I do love it. If I can get into an ocean, I love, love, love that. And so that reminds me of something that I was really good at. The garden reminds me of when I used to garden and I had this huge lot, and it would take me 3 days just to weed it, but I was out there every day working in my garden, and it was full of perennials and it was just beautiful. And so this reminds me of that time and, you know, of the things that I'm capable of. The paintbrush just reminds me of my art and being creative and how much I enjoy that. And some things I'm quite good at, some things I'm not great at, but I enjoy doing. The fancy little dessert actually reminds me of my partner who loves to put together, oh, actually it's not a dessert, that's shrimp. Oh, I like it even better because it's like a fancy dinner, even better. Reminds me of my partner who cooks amazing meals and likes to plate them in fancy ways, and how lucky I am to have that. And so, and color, I love color. It makes me happy. It makes me want to, I like to add color to everything. So I really like that. So these are some of the things that I enjoy and I like to have around me. So I'm going to add them to my page. I'll just move. I could even use part of this water because, oh, I love water. In fact, I'm going to use a piece of this water. That just reminds me of water. So I'm going to just use some matte medium. I think I'm going to actually rip this up and take, even though the cottage is super cute, it's more about the garden and it reminds me of my gardening. I think I'm going to, I like ripped edges too. Sometimes I'll cut, sometimes I'll rip, but I kind of like ripped edges for the way they look. But it's completely up to you what you like to do, right? Because this is about what makes you happy. And if ripped edges don't make you happy, don't rip them. There, I like that better. I think I might do that on most of them. Just rip these edges so they're not so sharp, because that to me is really fun. Okay, so some of them I ripped the edges and some of them I didn't, and that's fine. I'm going to start gluing them down, and I'm just going to use the golden matte medium. I find this really handy for gluing things down. You can use Mod Podge if you like. You can use white glue. You can use a glue stick. And clean this edge off because that causes me problems every time. Okay, I'm just going to use a cheap brush and matte medium. So any glue that you want to use is fine. I just like matte medium because it kind of allows you to do front and back. A really good stick. I'm going to leave a bit of an edge on this one because I had the color on there and I like the color, and that's the reason I put it down. But you can completely cover it. You can have nice little squares of things if you like, however you want to collage. Okay, so what I've done is I've left some of the color in the background. I've added all my pieces that I like. I'm going to wait for this to dry, and then I might add some highlights or some words to it too that remind me of my value, remind me of, you know, things that I love. Okay, so matte medium tends to dry pretty quickly, which is another great reason to use it. And I'm thinking, I have these Liquitex acrylic inks, and I have them in some metallic colors. So this one's a copper, which I absolutely love, and it really makes me happy. I'm gonna just see if I can splooch some on. If I do it from kind of high up, it might work. Just to add a little bit of oomph, because I love it. So that's my collage done, but like I said, I'm going to add some words, I think, to it. So I have a Micron archival ink. These are waterproof, Pigma Micron, and this is a sepia color, so it's a bit of a brown. I find black sometimes quite harsh, so I'm going to try the brown and see what I feel of it, feel about it. Oh, I like this. Yeah, not so in your face as black. So I personally really like that. So I'm just going to write a few words about myself that make me feel good. This is a Faber-Castell brush pen. I really like these as well. I'm just going to see, not as good for writing, which makes sense. And there was wet glue there, so get that off of my brush tip. Faber-Castell fine tip in the black. I'm just going to see the difference. I have to make sure I don't put my fingers in. Oh, it still doesn't want to write on this little spot that's not quite as dry as it should be. Okay, I'm going to leave it like that. So I've just added a few words, things that I feel are important or good, or my good qualities that make me feel good about myself. So you can do literally anything in your collage. It's personal, it's for you. You can make it to put up and remind yourself. You can put it in your art journal. You can put things on a shelf. You can put things in a bowl. I actually have a bowl that I absolutely love, mostly with either gifted or found items that I've collected over the years, different stones that were gifts. This is amethyst that I dug myself in Thunder Bay, in the mines there. Sea glass that I found on the beach of Aruba. Different stones that people have gifted me, or I've found. This is an eagle feather that was gifted to my partner from an Indigenous student. It's gotten a little beat up, unfortunately. So there's lots of and so this is my reminder. It reminds me of trips that I've taken. It reminds me of friends. It reminds me of good times. And we have this sitting on our shelf in the other room. And I brought it in here to show you. You know, these are some that I painted on a retreat many years ago that I've added here. There's, you know, different types of stones, smoky quartz. There's shells that I found, you know, And from both of us, my partner and I have added to this. So it's just a really great reminder of things that have been really good in our lives. So that's just another way that you can sort of document or collage, right? This was a friendship ball that was given, and we put it in there instead of hanging it in the window because we have a lot in our windows. So it's in the bowl. So yeah, anyways, that's just another idea. So I'll flip back to the other camera and we'll wrap up. Thanks. So we're back, and I just wanted to say thank you for joining me, and just again, our collage of things that make me happy. So hopefully you created a collage of things that make you happy. And, you know, again, magazine pictures, you can draw or paint the pictures. You could take photos. Photos are wonderful. If I had a color printer, I was going to do photos. But my color printer is packed away and I need to get it out. So there's that. There's, of course, the physical reminders. So you can have actual mementos, do up a shelf, do a shadow box frame. I showed you my bowl with my mementos from different trips and different friends and things like that. It reminds me of good times and good things that have happened in my life. So those are just some suggestions, and I would love to see what you create. So share a picture on our Facebook group, and I would just love to see it. Okay, so I'll see you next week. Thanks so much.
Thank you for listening in. Please remember to like, share, subscribe wherever you are watching or listening. You can find us at www.creativeyou.ca.